Na hayo ni kwamba huyu katibu mkuu wa vyama vya wafanyikazi nchini Francis Atwoli rasmi kabisa anafungua kongamano hili ama warsha hii ambayo itakuwa inajumuisha viongozi mbalimbali katika muungano wa wafanyikazi katika ukumbi ule wa Tom Mboya College. Ni maeneo ya Kisumu haya. Tuvuke moja kwa moja tupate hafla hiyo inavyoendelea.
After 2 years, they want to review the performance of that particular item on the agenda, whether it is still relevant or irrelevant, whether it is implementable or not, and how to enrich it and make it more effective to guard the rights of the working people across the globe. If it is for employer, how do we enrich it to guard the interests of the employers across the globe? If it is government, to say how are we, because governments are people who are member states of the United Nations. ILO is an agent of the United Nations, and they pay money. Even when we are in these tripartite meetings, we are going to the regional one in Abidjan, government will be paying for me and Jacqueline from employers. It's a tripartite government delegation. Are we still required to pay for a worker and employer? They also look into that. So that is what we have been looking into it, to enrich it. And he's the expert. Maura is a former labor inspector or a labor officer with the Ministry of Labor. And when he retired, he joined trade union movement. He's in the beauty union representing those workers in beauty industry. And instead of us getting an expert from outside ourselves, we have our own expert. So he was putting us all this through, that if we are to enrich, this is the route, this is the way forward. And one thing I'm impressed with, and this is what actually, Maura, what you did, is what the white people do. The white people don't retire. Akiwacha hii kasa naenda, and they remain current all the time. You are more current than even myself, who is a member of the ILO governing board. I was listening to you carefully, and I'm proud of you on that when you are making presentation. So he has put us all those three. He has told us the wanting areas, like this country, you know, it is lacking an employment policy. Without employment policy, that is why we have correspondence. Other countries would not allow that. They would tell an investor, as you invest in this country, if it is a correspondent in our media house, it is only for 3 months. If she or he has done very well, you give him up to 6 months, and then you absorb him in full employment as a journalist. And this is the starting salary of this particular journalist. After 2 years, you review her terms and conditions of service. So in most, if you go in the developed world, if you ask a worker, are you unionized? He says, yes, I'm in the union, but I don't know where they meet. Because those rules are open. It's not like here, we must fight with the government, we must fight with the employers for them to increase wages. So that is as per employment policy. Things related to social security are also open. And we at ILO, we came up with something called social protection floor. This one, it includes your things like pension schemes, how will you retire, how are you protected socially, and so on. And also, the last ILO convention we did put in place is to protect our sisters, and we did it this June this year on harassment at the place of work, which now we are fighting for the governments to ratify, following others like domestic workers and so on. So what we are saying is that I want to thank Maura who have come up, and this he came up with this paper. They have put their own input is there, and we wanted also to own his professional job, which means that every Kenyan, where he is, government, employers, and everybody must make sure the jobs that are recommended, jobs that are given to Kenyans, are jobs that are decent. Things like outsourcing, casualization, temporary jobs, piecemeal jobs, poor contracts, and part-time jobs that are not properly stipulated are done away with, because they contribute to a high exploitation of labor and they dehumanize a human being. You can see our people who are in the security industry, where Ndabwa comes from. Now, anybody visiting, he finds at the gate there is a woman who is a guard. Instead of accepting for that lady to take records of his vehicle and everything before the gate is opened, anaanza kupiga makofi. You see, this is what we don't want. That is making our employment in this country be precarious, to be dangerous to both working men and women. We don't want to go that route. A supervisor in a supermarket, yeah, because this girl, maybe when he went to her house at night, she could not open the door. This guy comes to avenge at her workplace. We have now a very strict ILO convention to protect working women at their places of work against any type or any form of violence. So I want to thank Brother Mwaura, because what he told us, he touched on extreme poverty, inequality, and imbalances at workplace, and how do we extend social protection to people in informal sector as we fight the transiting informal workers to formal workers, and how do we tap them into the union. And also KOTU and the Federation of Kenya Employers, how do we build capacity because of the changing world? We need to build capacity, capacities of our people through workers and employers education, so that we can match the changing world of work, because most of now work being done is either through digital systems. You don't see the employer, you don't see the factory, but think